Now we have James Van Meter, and he's the Regional Head of Aviation Programs and Product Development. Come on up. All right.
Thanks, Teresa.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm James Van Meter. As the slide says, I'm the Regional Head of Aviation Programs and Product Development. I'm also the Head of Unmanned Aircraft for North America. Today, we're going to give you a little overview about what unmanned aircraft are today, what they're doing, and where the technology is going. We're very proud at Allianz of our 104-year history ensuring and partnering with the pioneers of aviation. Throughout the history of aviation, pioneers have come up with radical ideas and matched those radical ideas with technology to bring us through the airship era, the jet engine era, of course, helicopters, satellites, space flight, and today, unmanned aircraft. Tomorrow, where it's going is urban air mobility, using the technology that's being proven on the small aircraft and putting it into big aircraft. So when we look at the UAS world, the drone world, there are really three major tech drivers that have brought us to where we are today. One is the improvement, the great improvement of electric propulsion. So we have a lot better batteries today than what we had 10 years ago. They're a lot lighter weight, and they're capable of providing more power in a sustainable fashion. Along with the batteries, also great improvement in electric motors. So the aircraft that you see there is operated by one of our insured Zipline. They operate these aircraft for up to 50 minutes in duration, and they perform, as a key to that, they perform life-saving blood delivery and delivery of critical medical supplies in Africa. They've been doing that for a couple years. So it's great to see that technology making a difference in the world today. Another one of the tech drivers is lightweight sensors and cameras. If you look at a police helicopter and how they've been operating for like decades, those are very heavy, 100-pound pieces of equipment, and they often cost more than the helicopter they're attached to. On drones today, you can have very similar capabilities for $20,000, and they weigh ounces. So we're not talking about just cameras and video cameras on DJI Phantoms or lower value drones. We're talking about hyperspectral imagery sensors. We're talking about LiDARs. We're talking about a lot of different things that provide better data to the drone user. So down below you see the field. There are a lot of uses in agriculture. There are a lot of uses in firefighting, a lot of uses in pipeline inspection, where you can fly this lightweight sensor over what you're trying to fly it over and get good actionable intelligence. The other big tech driver is autonomy. A lot of these aircraft have a lot of autonomous systems built into them. You don't have to necessarily have a pilot that's controlling them like we're going to do at the Drone Racing League experience after. A lot of times you can schedule a flight plan even on a $2,000 drone, and the drone's capable of conducting that mission on its own without human intervention and coming back and landing safely. The autonomy is the key to a lot of this technology as it continues to develop. So in any technological innovation, this is the Gartner hype cycle. It basically shows that there's an innovation trigger. You could apply that to the .com era. You could apply that to the IoT, driverless cars, anything that's been a huge innovation trigger in our lifetime. There's this period where a lot of venture capital money rushes in. You kind of get to that peak of inflated expectations where the reality of business and the reality of the world catches up to that hype cycle. I think the drone business has gone through that the last couple of years. I think 2008 was probably the innovation trigger period for the industry. We've gone through that peak of inflated expectations, and now I think we're somewhere coming up the slope of enlightenment. The regulatory environment's changed a lot, especially here in the United States. It's allowed for the commercial industry really to emerge, but we've seen a lot of companies drop out. There was a time that venture capital money was very easy to get in this industry. In the last 2 years, we've seen 3 major companies go bankrupt, and each one of those companies had more than $100 million of venture capital money pumped into them. So we're starting to see that hype bleed off, and we're really heading into what we call the plateau of productivity, where this technology is really going to have an impact and take shape on how it's going to affect the future. Today, there are dozens of industries using unmanned aircraft. We insure thousands of aircraft around the world, and we insure every aspect of the industry, from drone manufacturers, software developers, drone flight schools. But these are really the top 5 uses that we see for drones as the technology continues to be used more. Industrial inspection, real estate aerial photography, agriculture, insurance, and government. In the last 2 years, we've seen a huge uptick in the municipal side. wherein law enforcement agencies, fire departments, if they wanted a helicopter, they wanted an airborne asset, they would have to have $5 to $10 million to set up a flight department, acquire those assets, maintain them. Now, there are law enforcement agencies that can put a drone in every squad car for around $3,000. So it's a huge force multiplier. It's a huge way that our first responders can do their jobs better and safer. And I think we'll see that use case continue to grow. There are a lot of innovative uses for UAS. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not so obvious. Drone delivery, like I mentioned earlier, is being done outside of the United States. It is a reality. The technology is proven. They're able to do it safely. We will see that here in the United States at some point. Of course, entertainment has come up as a major use for drones. Last month, Intel was here inside a Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they put on a light show. They've also done it around the world, and that's when they have, again, the autonomous systems, the electric propulsion. They're capable of putting 500 drones in the air at a time at the push of a button. And the drones do their light show, do their swarm, and land on their own, all without human intervention. The life preserver drone is in use in Australia, and it's been credited with saving 3 lives already. It gives the lifeguards a valuable tool to get to their people who need help right away. The flame-throwing drone is one that's in use in China today. That one might be hard to get approval for in the United States, but in China they use it to clear power lines and clean debris off of high structures. So there are a lot of uses that are being developed for drones. We probably haven't really fully realized the capability of the technology, and there are companies out there working on trying to solve problems with this technology. With the rise of the drone industry and the proliferation and the ease of access to these aircraft, another industry is growing in parallel, and that's the anti-drone industry. So anti-drone industry, there's a lot to that. There's tracking of drones, there's identification of drones, and then of course, if you find a drone that's flying somewhere it shouldn't be, what do? You shoot it down with a shotgun? Can you shoot it down with a shotgun? So there are a lot of companies that are working on that solution. Some of you may have heard of in Gatwick during the holiday season. There were drones flying inside of the airport perimeter. It caused flight delays for hundreds of thousands of passengers. It delayed hundreds of flights. Huge economic impact, huge disruption to people's lives during the holiday season. That's a very scary threat because you can buy one of these drones at Amazon, off of Amazon, at Best Buy, off the shelf, and without ever firing a shot, you can disrupt hundreds of thousands of people's lives. So there are a lot of companies working on solutions. That's absolutely going to continue to be a hot topic in this area. Here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium last month for the Super Bowl, they put a 30 nautical mile no-fly zone. Now, it's great to have a no-fly zone, but you've got to have a means to enforce it. You've got to have a means to go after people who are breaking the no-fly zone. And with any technology that has promise to do good, unfortunately, there's the promise to do bad with it as well. So where all this is going, it's not just small quadcopters, it's not just people taking selfies with their drones. The technology that's being proven today in the small unmanned aircraft is going to lead us into urban air mobility. So that's electric aircraft that are capable of flying passengers around. Allianz is proud to be a partner with some companies who are already in this space. And some of these aircraft are not science fiction. They've flown overseas already. They are being tested today and flown in the United States, but passenger flights haven't really been tested yet here. So urban air mobility, somebody asked me earlier, why would you need this when you could just fly a helicopter? And some of you probably came from the helicopter show next door. A lot of great helicopters, a lot of great equipment in that industry. The big difference here is the people who are envisioning urban air mobility, they want them to be electric powered. They want them to be 100 times quieter than a manned helicopter is today. If you're flying a Bell 407 or an Airbus helicopter, it's a great way to get around, but it's very expensive and it's very loud. Urban air mobility is all about operating in big cities, so the goal of it is to relieve congestion on the roads. So think about landing in LaGuardia Airport and needing to get to Lower Manhattan, to the financial district. Usually it's 45 minutes to an hour and a half in a taxi or in an Uber. The urban air mobility concept would take that ride down to 5 minutes because it would fly low-level, short, repeatable trips. So we're not talking about getting in one of these and flying it for 4 hours across country. We're talking about 5 to 10 minute trips. And they want to be able to do them repeatable, app-based on your phone in a way to get people off the roads and into the air. Now, I know a lot of people are pretty skeptical. I was too when I first started hearing these concepts and hearing some of the people talk about the technology. Obviously, there are a lot of challenges before we get to flying cars or air taxis or electric vehicles that we can get on the roof and go to work. But aviation, the history of aviation is driven by pioneers and people who had an idea and they matched technology to it. So it may seem a little bit futuristic or a little bit high-tech today, but there are people working on the engineering problems. There are companies dedicating billions of dollars into it, and I think that we'll definitely see it sometime in the future, the near future. Allianz has been proud, like I said at the beginning, to partner with the pioneers of aviation. Today, we take on some of the most complex and high-risk operations in the world. SpaceX, rocket launches, the Airlander, the Strato launch. We are supportive of the pioneers, and we're going to continue to innovate and come up with new insurance products so that they can continue to innovate and change our lives with new aviation.